Welcome back to the Purpose Podcast. My name is Travis Holton. I'm a man of action. I walk with growth, honor, and faithfulness. I'm a warrior, ignited with purpose from the One Most High. So we got the first ever couples podcast today.
And a baby.
And we got a baby with us today. We got Miss Gabby with us today.
Woo.
Yeah. So this is my wife.
She's trying to read. She's trying to get into it.
She's trying to get into it. She's trying to skip over everything. She said, "Yeah, let's go." This is my wife, Jill. Lance.
My wife, Skylar.
Lance and
Skylar.
Skylar.
Our baby, Gabby. 7-month-old.
Almost 7 months, yeah.
So I wanted to have them on the podcast because they're just a great example of what it looks like just to walk with faith and just be a good example of a marriage and what it looks like just to bring life into people, like literally bring life into people. And Lance was actually my accountability partner, and before he was my accountability partner in our Men of Honor group, I feel like everybody I've had on the podcast has been in the Men of Honor program at some point, pretty much.
Yeah.
Jill and Skylar were friends beforehand, and we'll kind of like talk about that story, I think, and get into it a little bit later because I think that's awesome.
Yep.
But I love our relationship and everything that we've just kind of grown into friendship-wise. And if you wanted to just pray us in, and we'll just get straight into it from there.
Definitely, let's do it. Lord, thank you for us four to be able to spend this time together. I just pray for healthy and happy fellowship with one another. I just pray that you speak through us and you guide our conversation. And just thank you for such great friends and blessing us with each other. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
All right.
You
Yeah,
wanna
we'll start with us, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to start.
Yeah. So we went to school together.
Yeah, didn't talk.
Didn't talk about, but we were both quiet. I feel like
Yeah.
we both kind of kept to ourselves.
Straight to business, yeah.
And I think I reached out to you.
I think I said happy birthday
Oh yeah.
to you, and
Yep.
then you were like, I've been meaning to ask you
If you wanted to hang
Yeah.
out, and then I invited her to church, and we were out. Or we still go to Canvas, but we were going to Canvas at the time. And I think it was the first time we ever went. I went with her, and Lance was holding the door.
Yep.
And we walk in, and she's like, "Oh, he's cute." And I was like, "Oh, I think he's single." Because I think I met you in the youth group before. And so anyway, we go in, and she's like, "Yeah, but it's not like it's whatever." And so we leave, and I was serving one day, and she came by herself because you lived in Lake City at the time. Denellen.
Yeah.
And so she came by herself, and I'm holding the door, and Lance is walking out, and she's there, and I'm like, "Hey, can you show her where the giving station is?" She doesn't know where it's at, and I gotta hold this door. So I feel like that's kind of where y'all's story began.
I had no idea you were gonna do that. I was like, thanks, girl.
Yeah. She was like, "You know me too well."
Yeah. I know. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I feel like after that, you kind of just made your move after that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so after I talked to her, I found out her name. Right after church, I almost immediately followed her on Instagram.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't forget her name.
I gotta slide in those DMs later.
Yeah. And then 2 weeks later, I think
Yeah.
I was
Sent
with
her a
you.
message.
Yeah, we were together.
Yeah.
We were together.
I was at your, I was at,
in the apartment.
I was at
where you
your
were at.
apartment.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, it was actually crazy. I was just driving home, and then I was just thinking about her, and I was like, I don't even know who this girl is, but I don't know. I was interested, and I actually pulled over in a random church's parking lot, and that's whenever I send the DM, just a random church's parking lot, just pulled over, and
Yeah.
I remember
Send her a
too.
message.
You threw your phone up. You're like, "No,
Yes.
I can't respond right now. This is crazy." Because I think we were just talking about that.
We were just talking about him, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let this go. I don't know why. I'm stressing this so hard.
He just doesn't like me.
Yeah, I'm like, if he has not even said hi to me yet, it's just, he don't even like me. And
I remember that.
I texted my
Literally,
phone.
as you look down, you're like,
I was like, oh, never mind.
"That's me."
I literally was like, I can't respond. I'm not responding. I was like,
I
freaking
that.
out.
That was awesome.
And then I had to pull it together. I was like, what do I say? Do I say hi?
Just say, yeah, I was like, yeah, I just say hi and yes. I forgot what, I think it was a question. I think he's like, do you want to go out one day? I forgot what it was.
I think I
exactly,
asked
but
He was like,
to go to
hey,
dinner with
Skylar,
me.
yeah.
I didn't see you at church today.
You did apologize, which I actually, do you remember he apologized for like, sorry, this is over, like,
Oh,
a DM,
yeah.
which I thought was
Yeah.
actually super
Yeah.
thoughtful. Like, sorry, this is over, like,
yeah.
a DM, but I haven't seen you or something like
Yeah, I didn't
that.
see her at church.
So
And
I thought that was sweet.
I couldn't wait another week. So
I
had
know.
to.
That was so cute. And I feel like from that moment, you guys have just been like best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, you guys just clicked. And you don't see that a lot.
I say it all the time, but when we weren't talking, I swear I just saw in my head like Lance Nelson pop up like on my. It was like I was just imagining it, like a text message that said Lance Nelson, and now I got it. I get it every day. Lance Nelson.
Oh, I remember you talking about that too, because we would talk about like what we want.
Yeah.
And like our next relationship and a man, and literally I feel like you would
Yeah.
talk about him and not like know him.
Yeah.
But it's exactly, you're like, you were not, she was not stressed about it too. You were like, I'm going to pray about it and I don't care when it comes.
Yeah, I actually wasn't stressed about it.
And it came at the perfect time, literally at that time.
Yeah.
Yep. It came actually like right when I was like, you know what, I'm actually okay being single.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy. Like, I'm good with the wait. And then you showed up. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Like,
Never mind, I'm actually happy.
actually, I
want
wanted this. Reverse psychology.
Gotcha.
Oh, gosh. That's great, though.
Isn't it like crazy how like everything lines up like that? Like just God just constantly just puts the right people like in your lives at the right time when like exactly whenever you feel like you need it.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's whenever you don't even think you need it. It's just crazy. Like me and Ricky were talking about today, like how we met. Like how we met in a bar. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what you don't even drink.
It was
So what are the
dancing.
chances of
I
that?
don't dance either.
And what's the chances of like the friend that you're with the friend that you're with walking up and like, you know, saying something to me
Yeah.
and like just stuff like that.
Yeah, I know.
And how she was just saying like you brought Skylar to church for the first time. You brought me to the church for the first time and I haven't been in, you know, at that point I haven't been in so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're so willing, though.
Yeah,
That's
I was
a big
definitely
thing.
willing.
Like, even though it's that like reaching out a hand, because people don't want to ask, but they do want the invite.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was like you're waiting for that.
Yeah, 100%.
You're so different now.
It's also crazy. Like, first time Travis coming to church, like, us four went out to lunch together. Like, and I was able to meet Travis, and then our relationship grew. Like, we men of honor, accountability partners, and everything.
It's crazy. That was the funniest thing. I think we'd only been out to eat once with y'all. I think maybe
Went to that
possibly
Mexican
twice.
restaurant in High Springs. I remember that so clearly.
It was either just once or possibly twice we've been out to eat and like met and talked and stuff, and then like Men of Honor rolled around, and I remember you like just instantly like walked in and like sat next to me, because what happens is like Pastor Mark, there's probably 70, maybe a little bit more with like everybody in there, and Pastor Mark prays over everybody beforehand. The people who has been through Men of Honor come back and be like accountability partners for people. It's how it works, and he prays over everything, and that's who you get like matched up with. And he like sits next to me and walks in, and he didn't say anything to me like about it or nothing, because he already knew and I didn't. And we just see everybody like slowly get called up. Like all these people would get matched up, and I think we were literally like
We're like,
we were the last ones.
I think at that point, I did I tell you? Like,
yeah, we were like the second.
I was like, I think it's kind of obvious.
Yeah, we were like the second to the last people. We ended up getting called last, but at the second to the last people, one of their Lance is like, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, you're my accountability. Or like, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was funny. And I think Men of Honor is like amazing. I think everybody that I've had on the podcast has been through it, and like just what it puts you through in the sermons, and like just constantly learning is a good like foundation, I think, in order to grow and have a good relationship with God, and really just step out of faith and start having a relationship, or step out of religion and start having a relationship with God. I think that's like really important.
Definitely. Yeah, Men of Honor definitely changed my life, just in not only just reading my Bible, but reading books about God, reading books about being a better man, reading
Exactly.
even before I was in a relationship, like reading books about what she wants in a relationship. Like she didn't even exist. Well, she existed, but I didn't even know she yet. Like just stuff like that. It's crazy.
And we were talking about this a little bit beforehand, and I think everybody out there that doesn't have a wife or I mean vice versa, it can go the other way around. You're looking for a husband or you're looking for somebody that you want to spend your life with. The first thing that I did whenever I lost sight of all this is I wrote down 20 things I wanted in my future wife, and I put it in between Habakkuk, I think it's 2:2, and it says write it plain on tablets and pray for it every single day is very much what it says, and the herald may run with it, and it waits an appointed time, it speaks of the end. And that's what I put it in between, and I read it and prayed for it every single day. And she slowly, she checked off every single little thing on my list, and that's how I knew like she was the one. And I talked with somebody about this in our men's prayer group, and he said, I wrote down 5 things I wanted in my future wife, but I also wrote down 5 things like that I knew that like if she tells me she's looking for those things, I know she's the one, because that's who I am.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really good.
I think that's important. I mean, honestly, praying for it.
Yeah.
It's like it's so basic, but it's so important. If you don't, and like not looking for it when you need it, he's not going to give it to you. Because that's what you're going to like base your life around. You're going to rely on somebody else to make you happy when they can't. They're going to disappoint you. Like, that's just life. But I think when you pray about it and allow him to do all those things, you just start like loving how you're supposed to.
Yeah.
It makes a relationship so much easier.
And I don't think love is necessarily like it's a feeling, but it's more so like a commitment as well. Like every single day you know what I'm saying, you choose to love somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
He'll come home all stinky and he's like, I'm gonna lay on the bed. And I'm like, oh, okay. You sure you want to?
Stop.
It's a man thing.
I don't ever do that. What are you talking about?
I think it's actually how you work related.
Yeah.
Really?
I did not lay on the bed
His
after that.
shoes, it's like all sand. I'm like, you didn't like
Yeah, I came home, built a little sand castle in the living room with all the sand in my
left it for
shoes.
me. I'm like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, exactly.
No, really though, yeah. It's not always like, butterflies and gushy.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you. It's like,
It's not.
okay, that really irritated me.
Yeah.
I'm
But you
just
love
not-
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think my biggest thing with it is like I stopped like holding grudges after, because being mad at somebody for doing something so small, or like dragging it on, or not accepting somebody I'm sorry, like is what that was my problem. And like now I feel like we don't have like arguments. We may have disagreements.
Yeah.
Never arguments. We don't allow them to like go on for longer than we're laughing in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At what we just had a disagreement about. And I think that's definitely God, because it's not like that.
It's so hard when you're in the moment of the argument. Like you're like, dude, right then it seems like so like this is the worst thing ever. But then like you take yourself out of it. I heard something a long time ago about like if it doesn't matter 5 years from now, then like why is it worth it?
Yeah.
Like is it really worth it? And just trying to take myself out of it and be like, look at the bigger picture. Like, does this even really matter?
You put yourself in their shoes. Like, okay,
that too.
Is it really like? Is it just something I could understand if like I said that to me, I might get mad at myself. Yeah. So let me just look at it from her point of view and see like why she's mad at me, and let me understand it. And then from there, let's just figure out a solution to it and just move on.
Definitely.
I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then like for me, which I'm actually working on that, trying to not hold a grudge, but for me, like, and he actually helped me look at it this way, but if that was the last thing I said to them, like, would I be happy with that?
Yeah. That holds so much weight.
Oh, yeah. that'll change everything. So.
Yeah.
But I'm still working on it.
Skylar gets aggravated because like sometimes I'll say like I love you like multiple times, like we're hanging up off the phone and like we'd start talking about something else and then I'll say I love you again and like we'll like talk about something else and then I say I love you again like before we hang up, just because like I just want you to know like the last thing I said to you was I love you, like even sometimes at nighttime it's like, alright,
and
I love you too. Like,
it literally just happened.
like,
on my way
that's
home
cute, though.
today, he called me, I'm not kidding, like 5 times back to back. Like, but I would answer, hang up, he'd call me again, answer, and every single time, alright, love you, bye. Alright, love you, bye.
And I got a funny story about that because I think it's all the Nelsons do it. Like they're really good about it, and like working with them, I see that, and I see like the love, and they just make sure that they say that. And I think Lance is so used to it. He was talking to a customer the other day, and he was actually like, before he hung up with a male customer, he's just like, all right, love you, bye. Like, he's just like,
hey man, I love you, but I didn't mean to say I love you.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
it was so funny.
It
We
is
were cracking
habit. Like
up.
when you say it all the time, you're just kind of used to it. I think that's so important that like the last words you say to somebody should be something like that. It doesn't matter how you feel.
Yeah.
Like you said, a feeling, it's not going to matter
Yeah.
in 5 years.
Yeah.
But the last thing you said to somebody is going to matter for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So I think that's super important. I don't think people do that enough either.
Yeah. Even if you're upset, like arguing over the phone or whatever, I mean, like, don't just hang up on someone. Like,
Yeah.
say, love you, bye. Like,
Yeah.
I'm upset with you, we'll talk in 5 minutes. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
let me think about this.
And it's our nature.
I used to never say love you, like not to family or anything. I mean,
Yeah.
I love them, but
Right.
I would never hang up saying love you.
I'm not like that really either.
I don't know.
Because
But
I'm
now I
spoken.
am. Like now I say it to all my family. I'm like, love you. Waiting for. I'm training them.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's good though, because that's kind of how my family is. It was more like unspoken. Like we just knew we did. We didn't have to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not big like huggers, like
Yeah.
embracers, but yeah, no, I do say it now actually more than I used to.
Yep.
And it's more powerful. And they notice that. They pick up on that.
Yeah.
Like at first it's like, this is different. But then they're like, okay.
You love me.
Like I knew it, but it's kind of weird. I just said
Yeah.
That's awesome. I actually have, since we're talking about that,
I knew you had
kind
some
of on
stuff.
that topic of like grudges and I feel like we've been kind of like talking about that a lot lately. Like holding grudges and really letting that control your life is like the enemy's, I feel like, one of the worst lies. It isolates you, it makes you depressed, and you don't even know.
Yeah.
You don't know until you're in your room for 5 days, and then you're like, I haven't talked to this person, and I miss them. But you won't reach out. Yeah. And it's. Oh,
I love what Pastor Mark said this week about that. He talked about like you're looking at everything from a camera, and you're so zoomed in on the picture that's the only picture that you see.
Yeah.
You know, like you're a victim in your own story, and it's just really in your own mind. And sometimes it takes zooming out and seeing the big picture to really understand everything that's going on, to understand like other people's point of views, and that goes with everything.
Oh, it does. And I still sometimes struggle. Like, it's easier with people you have connections with, but with people you don't. Like, it's hard to zoom out and be like, they're not just this, or they're not just that, because I still struggle with judgment. She's cracking. She thinks you look funny. But anyway, I found this, and this is like really like I love it. Like, the Bible puts me in my place. All the time.
It hurts.
Yes. And it says, since you judge others for doing these things, why do you think you can avoid God's judgment when you do the same things?
Yeah.
And it's so true. And I still struggle, and I do it every day, but I take accountability for that. And I think like that, acknowledging that, like, hey, that's not cool, saying those things aren't cool, doing those things, and like being willing to change and notice my own problems and not other people's.
Yeah.
makes you so much more positive too.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying, I think he was also saying, like, when you see one negative about somebody, you start to see all the negatives because that's all you want
Yeah.
to see. But when you see the positive, you see like what they're good, like what they're good at. You see all the positives.
You can look at either thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy just to focus on like people's bad habits. Like it's so easy just to pick up on it. And like I heard somebody preach, I think it was like Stephen Futterick, I think is how you say his name. He's like, people, you have 50,000 thoughts a day. Is on average what you think. 85 of those of your own thoughts are negative. And that's wild to me. It's like 85 of your own thoughts running through your head are all negative. So why would, you know what I'm saying? Why would you not? Why would, you have nothing, like, from the enemy is all negative almost. And everything that you have is from the enemy, really.
Cute. No, you're fine.
She's fine.
She was laughing at you. She
Yeah,
liked
she's
it. When
laughing
you
at me.
talk, she's like, okay, I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
It's like, let me talk.
Me. Let's talk together. Yeah. No,
Whenever
I
you
agree
just
with
have
that.
like these small, like 15 percent of the thoughts running through your head are positive, like what makes you really go out of your way and try to make somebody else's life positive?
Yeah.
And try to say positive things about them and think about,
Yeah.
you know, all the positive that they bring to the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so hard. It's like that thing with like, you're okay?
Oh, yeah. Okay, girl. I love this. I think this is so real.
Yeah. This is real time right here.
I know.
Yeah. It's like that thing like Steve Weatherford says where like you shouldn't be competing with everybody. You should just be completing everybody and using what you've been gifted with to like bring something to the table for everybody, and then they're able to use everything that they're struggling with too, and
Yeah.
you're able to take like your gifts and just bring them together, because there may be something that I'm good at that you're not good at, and
Yeah.
something that you're really good at that I'm terrible at.
Yeah.
And whenever we bring our gifts together, that's where like all the good stuff happens.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that.
Definitely.
100%. I think you didn't you kind of have something in that about grudge? What was yours about?
Oh, mine was the verse that I had been thinking about the last few days was death and life are in the power of the tongue, and you'll bear its fruit, pretty much. So you have to choose, like, what are you going to say? Like, what are you going to speak in your life? Are you going to speak something positive or something negative? Are you going to gossip about people, or are you going to turn the cheek to what other people say and choose to look at them differently, look at them how God looks at them? Which I'm guilty of gossiping.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
I think everybody, has done it.
Struggles with it. It's hard, especially
It's
when you're
very hard.
surrounded. And I'm not saying that's an excuse. I'm just saying when you're surrounded by a lot of it,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
then you don't necessarily disagree,
Yeah.
but it's still not good. It is so
Yeah.
much nicer when you see those people like smiling, like being positive, like, hey, we don't have to talk about that. Like, you honor those people. You're like, you know what? You're
Yeah.
so cool for like saying that and like sticking up and not doing that.
It's hard to not gossip when, like, you easily could do it. Like, if you're upset with somebody, like, they made you mad, like, I could easily be like, I can't believe they did that.
Yeah.
But then, chances are a week later, I probably will do the same thing that they did. They're going to be someone's going to be gossiping about me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like a circle. You just have to
Yeah.
choose to break it.
It's really like the people, like not only does it look bad really on like yourself for gossiping, but you gotta think of how many people it affects outside of it.
Yeah.
And it just continues to be like this snowball effect, like he said, she said, and it just kind of gets worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what are you like pouring into other people's cups? Like, what are you pouring into other people? Is it really all those bad
Yeah.
things?
Yeah.
Think about if you just said all these positive things about everybody. Like, what kind of just a small difference would it make? If you just like led your day with like a smile, how many lives could you just change by just doing that one little thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so rewarding too when you have relationships that, like, whenever you get into gossiping or something and the person that you're with, like, y'all can hold each other accountable and say, hey, like, we need to change our conversation. Like,
Yeah.
We're not talking about
like,
that.
we don't need to gossip. Like, taking yourself out of it, like, even though
Yeah.
whatever happened, I mean, taking yourself out of it and say, hey, let's not gossip. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
like, let's change our conversation. It's so rewarding just having those relationships, like, so surrounding yourself around like-minded people.
And
Oh, yeah.
Like-
people will appreciate that. Like, I mean, maybe in the moment they'll be like, oh, that's kind of boring. Like,
Yeah.
But later on, if they have something that they need to talk about, they're going to come to you because they probably trust you and know that you're not going to go and talk to other people and gossip and spread stuff that they don't want other people knowing.
And it's comforting.
I have like probably 2 friends, you being one of them, that I would go to and know that it's not going to go anywhere else.
Yeah. And it's just gonna stay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. See, that's who you want. Like you said, that's who you want to be around. And going back to like a little bit what I was going through in my mind when you like, it's because it's so true to gossip about somebody, feel hurt with people's actions, and be like, oh, but they hurt me. And every time I've done that now, especially being on the other side of like God and a relationship with Him, I've noticed that like they were never trying to hurt me. And like taking a step back and saying, wow, like they're going through so much with their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I never took that into account. I was like, well, you just did this, so you're just wrong.
Yeah.
And they were suffering with like X, Y, Z.
Yeah. Oh,
and
everybody
it's
has
so,
a story.
it's so like, oh, it just blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what keeps me from not doing it. It's because I'm like, as much as I understand that, I'm like, I don't understand it. You're going through so much, and I'm trying to judge you for something I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I feel hurt. Like,
exactly.
I'll get over that.
Everybody has something going on. Everybody has some story to tell. But yeah. I agree.
I like that though. Did you have a quote to bring up too? I know I had some questions, but
I think you had a couple questions. I was just gonna pretty much
Bounce off.
piggyback off of your
Oh, of it?
questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had 2 good questions for you guys, and then we were gonna kind of like jump in and see. So what has God been teaching you lately?
Ooh. Okay. Literally what we were just talking about, actually.
Really?
My attitude. Yeah. Like,
And I don't see you like that. Like, and I think it's a good thing. I think if I see you, I've never saw you negative. Like, you've never been super judgmental around me with anybody.
Yeah.
You don't gossip a lot.
It's just with my husband. I don't know why, but you know, I think like I know it's not a good thing, but I'm most comfortable with him, so I'm most comfortable taking these things out on him, but I definitely have got to work on it. I know that.
Accountability. He is an accountability partner.
He's an accountability partner.
I mean, but acknowledging it is good.
But yeah, like immediately whenever I get upset, it's like immediately I'm like, oh, I know God. Alright, I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry.
That's good though. I mean, that means the Holy Spirit is in work in you though. I think that's like what the difference is. People think like, oh, you're a Christian, you're supposed to be perfect.
No.
And we are far from it. Yeah, no, we just acknowledge that the Holy Spirit actually does speak to us.
I think it matters to, like, when you make a mistake or you sin, like, acknowledge it and turn away from it, but don't do it again and be like, oh, yeah, I made a mistake. I'm human, you know? Like, yeah, I made a mistake and I'm going to try to do better.
Do better,
is
exactly.
what you should be saying.
Yep.
I like
I
that.
agree with that.
I think whenever I was reading Steve Weatherford's book the other day, it said it in there. It said, people climb the ladder to success only to realize at the top that the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall, so they had to flip it around, turn it the other way. But I feel like as long as your ladder is like leaning towards God, and sometimes you might fall back down, and sometimes you may sin, or you might fall, a victim to something, but you fall all the way back down to the bottom. But God's like right there, like lifting you back up to where you were just at, Yeah. I feel like that's what like truly matters, is as long as you know like your ladder is leaning against the right wall. Like I might fall down a step every now and then, but God's still like right there, still leading my life and helping me out. I think that's really good. I think whenever I read that, I touched on that and I was like, man, that's good, because people do spend years of their life just climbing up this ladder to success, only to realize at the top they're like, man, I'm so unfulfilled. You know what I'm saying? That I was chasing all the wrong stuff in this life.
Definitely.
Yeah, I seen like this picture online one time, and it was like what I think God's plan is for me, and it's like a straight path going up, and then it's like what it actually is, and it's got like spikes and rocks and cliffs, and then like at the end it's like what the treasure God has for you.
Yeah.
It's like Moses leading the the Israelites
Yeah.
out of,
You like that story.
Yeah.
out of Egypt.
Yeah.
It's like they spent 42 years, 40 something like that, going to their promised land, and people ended up leaving and dying off.
And that's like
and
real
then
life.
eventually they reached the land, and it was amazing.
I think that's awesome.
God used
I forget that
somebody
that's
who was,
like
Took
real.
40 years.
yeah,
You know?
God used,
Yeah.
40 years.
Patience.
Hard patience.
Working on
yeah.
God used somebody who was unqualified to do all that.
Has
That's my
speech-
favorite.
Speech impediment.
Hmm.
Called him to lead his people out of
Mhm.
Egypt. Yeah.
Definitely. Something to answer your question for me. Our church that we go to now, DCC, they really, one of their, like, they hit on a lot of things, of course, as every church does, but one of their things is making sure Sabbathing properly. Like, in the month of July, they take the whole month and, like, Sabbathing, like, as far as not doing extracurricular activities, like, for the
Okay.
church and stuff. And so, of course, last week, like, we had our Sabbath message, our first message of Sabbath, and just hearing him just talk about Sabbath, it's like, there's every day, like, we're, like, trying to work, trying to always do something, like, we just get caught up in, like, running 100 miles an hour all the time, and it's like, some of the stuff, it's like, our body just needs to rest, like,
Yeah.
it's so important that we actually get rest, and especially with work and stuff, like, I'm trying to, like, help run a business, and I'm busy all the time, as everyone is, but and Pastor Rocky says on Sunday, like, only work this month the hours that you have to work to keep your job. That was his challenge to us, and it's like, immediately I'm like, well, I gotta work, like, I gotta keep things running and stuff, but trying to actually take myself out of that, and not on the weekends, like, not responding to texts, like,
Yeah.
it's the weekend, most customers, like, don't expect you to respond immediately,
Right.
like, unless it's an emergency, but still, like, taking that, not responding to texts over the weekend, like, at 6 o'clock, 6:30 at night, like, not responding to those phone calls or texts, like, take care of it the next morning, like, just the extra things that, and spending that extra time with God, spending that extra time with family is just so much more important, like, instead of, like, oh, I gotta do this right now, or, like,
Yeah, I'm the same way. In my mind, I'm always, like, trying to get to the next thing. Like, even something as simple as, like, you know, on a weekend going to the grocery store, like, I'm not, like, driving, like, speeding crazy or anything, but in my mind, I'm, like, constant, like, I gotta get there, and then I gotta get all this food, and then I gotta hurry up and get, like, I'm always just trying to hurry up to get to the next thing, instead of just slowing down and doing things calmly.
Yeah.
Well, I do
Yeah.
it calmly, but
Yeah.
I'm just always in my mind, like, thinking about the next thing instead of just being in the moment and being like, oh, I'm just at the grocery store. What bananas should I get? Like, no, just get these and just go.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
that's so important. I mean, like you said, understanding that, like, some people don't get those luxuries. Like, they don't get to do that.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's such an important message to, like, bring it around back to that.
Mhm.
Like, some people don't get to go back to their family.
Yeah.
They don't, get that option. So I think it's so important to take a step back and
Mm-hmm.
focus on those things.
yeah, I mean, being in a hurry to get out the door every day.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you're like, I mean, you just partway through your day and you're like, realize, like, I didn't pray to God this morning. Like, like, I was in such a hurry to get out the door. Like, I was in such a hurry to try to hurry up and get to this place. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't spend that time with God. Like,
Yeah.
And so just taking that extra moment, making sure you spend that time with God and
Yeah.
or your family at nighttime, that makes a big difference.
No.
That's
You're
really
good.
good. Yeah.
You say, what do you say about, like, 50%, or it's like the percentage of how you should be at work and home? Like, your your past is at work and your future is at home. or
I like
something?
it says so.
Oh, wait.
Mine's like the complete opposite of what you guys just said. Pretty much is what like I like. I like saying that like your 9 to 5 is what builds your present, but your 5 to 9 is what builds your future.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like also, I mean, yes, you can go home and spend that time with your family, and that's how it should be. But whenever you're there, like that's it. You know, the phones get put away. There's no more work. Like I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you need to take a step back from everything and realize like, yes, like I need to take a step back. I need this rest time. I need to just spend time with my family. And I think like the first 10 minutes of your day, you shouldn't be on your phone. The first 10 minutes of your day should like go to God and be in His Word and pray and like you talk about like giving the first of everything to God. Like a lot of people talk about that, like you're supposed to give the first, your paycheck to God every month and tithe every month. Not a lot of people say like, what about my time?
Yeah.
That's really your biggest asset that you have, I feel like. And anybody will tell you that if you just spend your first 10 minutes a day with God, like what does it look like a year from now? What does it look like a month from now? 6 months from now? Like how He's just going to change your life. He's like, okay, well, you're giving me everything now.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think that is really good. But yeah, I'm bad about getting caught up in like trying to do too much. I think like trying to run a podcast, trying to like slowly like work on starting my own business, I think. And it's like you just get caught up in the moment. You like lose track of like your time. You know what I'm saying?
That's the same thing with us, like in our business too. Like I feel like there's so much great things that we already have going, and sometimes we're like thinking ahead. Like it's great to think ahead. It's great to have goals, to plan ahead. But it's like, all right, what's the next step? Like, and that's a great thing. That's a great mind to think, but it's not always getting caught on what's the next step. It's perfecting what we already currently have, and not trying to find the next. It's okay being complacent. Like it's okay being where you're at and putting that in God's hand. Like not forcing the issue. Yeah. And that's really whenever things work out for the best. Like you have the most success in things. It's just putting it in God's hands, not rushing it.
Yeah, it's slowing down and perfecting your craft and all the skills you already have. Sometimes it's just slowing down and just making sure like I'm well rested and I'm really good in this area. Let me just focus on just being really good at this area and perfecting that, and then I'll move forward to the next one, or then I'll move on to whatever's next.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's interesting, like all the stories of the Bible, like I feel like they're so like okay with what they have. Like God, if you don't give me anything else, I'm okay with it because I have you and you've already given me all this. Yeah. And I think it's in a world like, especially nowadays, like material things are so important. They just are. Yeah. And so like not feeling like you're at that next level, or that, oh, you're not here yet, you haven't done this yet, you haven't made this yet, you don't have a house, like things like that. And I think like I talk to him about this all the time. I'm like, if God never gave me anything else again, like I'd be okay. Because like, like he already gave me like he's given me like family, friends, like love, like things that I literally cannot buy that people don't have. Yeah. And he just, the outlook on life that he gives is so different. And I think that's even like the Bible. Like I want to be that person that's like, I have faith even when I don't believe it, like because it gets like that, it gets hard.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
So no, I think that's a really, really good topic.
Yeah, I think
those are good answers.
I mean, I remember like when I first started my job, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I had an hour drive, and I would just sit there and pray and be like, God, I don't know what I'm doing today, but I know you didn't give me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and self-control, and you're gonna walk with me through this. And like 2 years later, I'm at my job, and I like my job. Like I'm not scared to go to work anymore. Like I'm like, if you brought me this far, like I know you're gonna bring me even further. But that doesn't mean like I have to, go into work and just, like not try. But like he tells us to work hard, or that's how we'll eat. We work hard. So if I just go to work hard, like he'll bring me much further. He honors that.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Who knows what he'll do next year?
Just so much. I need a prayer journal. I like write down and remember, because I'm like, I look back and I'm like, man, I forgot I was writing about that. And he like answered it 3 times, and I was like, oh, okay.
I have like spots in the back of my Bible where like, I don't know, 2021, I like wrote down and like my journal for the day, and then my next one was like 2023.
Yeah.
No, I was like, oops, sorry, I forgot about this.
I'm back though.
Yeah. Hey, it's me again.
Just thinking about that, Andy at work, I thought, so his grandpa's like his, I guess, a big pastor, and like whenever he passed away, I thought this was the coolest thing ever whenever I heard this. And he said his grandpa left Andy all his past sermon notes that he wrote. And I mean, there's like a whole file cabinet full of them. That's what he gave Andy. And he's like, dude, it's he's like, I can never really open them and read them, but whenever I do, you open them and you like see his like thoughts on paper. Yeah. And he asked himself questions, and then you could tell like he kind of prayed about it here, and then he answered it with a verse. And he's like, that is the coolest thing. It's like, what are you really leaving your family?
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Like, you're not really leaving them like, material money and like all this stuff, but like that is so amazing.
It's
I think
timeless.
It means so much more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. It really does. When they're not here anymore, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Since then. All right, I got one more question for you guys.
Okay.
What has been? It kind of goes into the same one, but it's what has been your biggest challenge lately?
Like, as a couple or just individually?
Whatever you think a bigger challenge.
My biggest challenge lately. I don't know.
I know it's a hard question.
It is.
But I love it.
I know. I mean, I can go first.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say like my biggest challenge lately, and I still think, I mean, people struggle with a lot of different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my biggest challenge is like the fear of man, like the fear of like what other people think about me and opinions. And I mean, a lot of people say that, oh, it doesn't matter. Well, like in the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, you still want some people to care about you and some people to love you. And I think that's probably where I'm struggling the most, is like some people who are like, like high up there, like what they have to say about me in certain ways and stuff. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I'm struggling with.
That's always been a struggle. That I would actually probably do the same, like with friends, like who maybe don't believe in the same things as you, and you hear them talking about something that maybe 3 years ago you were like, heck yeah, but now like you're like, well, wait, no, I actually don't agree with that now. So it's awkward that I'm just sitting here. It's like, do I say no, I don't agree with that, or do I just let them go on and talk about how they want to go get drunk or something, or party? And I'm like, anybody else not want to do that? Like, somebody help me here. It is. It's scary. Like, especially when you're with people, like you said, who you want to care about you. And, so.
That's hard because they're your friends. Like, you also want to, like, not that you're going to do it, but hopefully one day, like, God moves through you to help them.
Mm-hmm.
And they might never know God if you're not there, so I think that's also still, like, and you don't want to push them away with the judgment. So it's
balance.
It's
balance.
Finding that balance.
It's balance for you and for them. Like, you have to be careful how much time you're spending around these people, but you also want to be in their lives, so you can be some kind of direction for them and guide.
And still like lead by example. I like that.
Yes, lead.
And I think it's good not to adapt to like the environment that you're in, but I like being able to like walk into a room and like change the environment that you're in. Like I walk into a room and I want to be like a thermostat. Like I can turn up the temperature as soon as I walk in. Like that's the goal. It's like I bring smiles. I bring a good like holy like environment around me, like men of God around me. Like that's how I want to be, and I want to be like that fire in someone else's life that like people can just come up from and get warm. I don't want to be on the outside of the fire. I want to be that person in the middle. And I think just being able to just like instantly just change an environment as soon as you walk into a room, like that's the difference in people.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's hard, like it's hard, like let's say like 5 years ago, there's probably a video of me chugging a beer, shotgunning a beer, and somebody has that of me, but now you will never see me doing that.
Right.
100%.
like it's uncomfortable. Like, being like, no, that's actually not me anymore. Like, like I don't even want to see that. I don't even know who that girl is.
Right.
Like, to be honest.
Yeah. But I think that even shows like how radical of a difference it does make. Like it's not about like, hey, I don't want to have fun. Like it's just about like, I don't think that's fun anymore.
Yeah.
Like that's not my form of fun. And it's okay, like that people don't understand that are doing that.
Yeah.
And we know that because you've been there. So I think that makes it more not easier, but it puts you in a spot like if you didn't go through that, you probably couldn't help people like that.
Yeah.
Because I I've never drank, but like I can't relate when like people are like, oh, I want to have fun. It's fun. I'm like, I never understood it.
In reality, you've had so much more fun than the people who are waking up Sunday mornings feeling like death and regretting what they did, that they don't even remember what they did. Like, that's not fun.
No.
You've had so much more fun than those people.
Yeah.
In reality. So.
I think it's like, it takes like being that example, like, oh yeah, that was me. That was exactly, that's like, exactly how I used to be. You know what I'm saying? And that's, I mean, I was the same way. Like the only thing I learned in college is like how fast I could shotgun a beer. Like literally, that's the only thing I really learned.
Yeah.
And it's just like taking that, like, yeah, that's who I used to be, but look how God's changed my life.
Yep.
You know, I gave my life to God and he took a whole bunch of things away, a whole bunch of things that I struggled with and I really thought that I need, or the world told me I need. And he's just like, you don't need this anymore. Like, you just need me. You just need to follow me, and that's it. Yeah. And I think that is the biggest thing. Like, imagine someone else that's still doing that, and they see that, and they're like, man, that guy. I remember going out partying with him. Like, he's a little different now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you don't want to come off as that hypocritical Christian, but it's like, no, like I'm not like judging you really. Like I am judging what you're doing. I'm not judging you as a person, but like that is what I used to do the same thing, and I'm sorry, but I'm living my best life right now. Yeah. Like I used to pray for all of this when I was doing that, and then when I decided I didn't want to do any of that anymore, my life started leading in this direction. And I'm like, I never thought that I would be living in High Springs. I never even knew what that was. I was like, I'm sorry, what? Yeah. Like, a latch what? Like, I didn't even know this place was a, place. But here I am. I have a husband and a daughter, and I live out in the sticks. Straight up.
I was about to say, you are so happy. I can just tell. Yeah. This is just you. Like, that's what you're meant to do. And be, No, I can see that in you. I love that. We like watching that. I think that's why we like being around you guys. Oh yeah, it's because it's genuine. I still love my hometown, but it's nice, it's different. I have a different life now. You have a family. I have a family, and that's what matters. I mean, that is what you put first is your family. Yep.
This was something like really good I talked about with Guy Jones. He's been on the podcast, and he like asked me. We had like a little. He kind of mentored me, I guess, this weekend, and he's like, there's 4. He talked about like Steve Weatherford. So Steve Weatherford was a decathlete, I guess is how you say it, in college, and he was like a professional. And he said, there's 10 events, and there's a ton of different ones. There's a mile, there's shot put, there's high jump. There's a ton of different events. And he's like, I showed up in every single one. I'd come in 3rd, I'd come in 4th, I'd come in 2nd, I'd come in 5th, I'd come in, 7th in this one. But the thing is, I showed up in every single one. And at the end, I got the trophy because I won because I showed up in all those areas. And it's the same way in life. And there's 4 areas that you may not have to come in first in every single one, but you have to show up for, and that's kingdom, family, health, and wealth. And that's what he talked about, and that's the biggest thing I took away from that. It's like, man, like that's true. Like, what are you doing with the gifts that you've been given? How are you treating your family and like your health? How are you, like being a good steward of the temple that God gives you? And then like wealth, what are you doing with your finances? And how are you, using that to bless other people and still being able to get by and get back to your family? And he like asked me like, what's the biggest one I struggled with? I was like, well, as any like 24-year-old would. I mean, definitely like wealth right now, And we like just picked it apart and like talked about everything. And I think it's good to figure out where you're struggling at. That way you can adapt and change your situation that you're in right now.
Definitely. Like everything and this life is so temporary.
Mhm.
Like you can't fixate on like how much money you have or what your house looks like or what you look like.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You have to press ahead toward.
I'm like, listen, I don't care how much money we have. We can go eat.
Listen, we live in a camper, but yeah, we can go out to Prime World.
I'm like,
I'm ready to get a big old steak.
That's us.
Yeah, we literally did.
We'll make it
Let's go
work.
to Prime and Pearl too. Yeah, I did get a steak.
Dude, as you should. I would do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys watch The Chosen?
No, not yet.
I've heard about it, but we
It's
don't
so
watch it
good.
either.
I know you were saying it was really good. You said you were like obsessed with it for a while. Like when you were watching it, so
Yes, it
I need to watch it.
literally best show.
We're just being like binge watch the whole 4th season. Like it just came out.
Oh,
We
okay.
just
Season
like
4,
binge
yeah.
watched it. Like
We literally watched it in like
in
2
2
days.
days, yeah.
Man, yeah. But
I've heard really good things,
Mhm.
Yeah,
and it's free on YouTube.
it's. I don't know if it's on YouTube, but it is on the Chosen app.
It's on
I think
Amazon
it's
Prime,
on Prime.
too.
Is it app? What's app free?
The app's free.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. We'll do
Yeah.
that then.
But anyways, on there, like you just see how like these people are living, like they're not eating these really fancy meals, you know.
Yeah.
And in the scene where I don't want to spoil it, just in case. I mean, you actually already know it, really. But where John gets beheaded, or like right before he's about to get beheaded, he like looks out the window and he sees like this light, and he's like, "I'm coming to you," like to God, pretty much. And it's like, yeah, he's looking like his whole life he was looking at his eternal treasures. And I just feel like that's how we should live.
It is.
Like people went around calling him weird, like
Crazy.
but crazy.
Got
But he was
beheaded for
literally
it.
he was literally just living for the Lord.
So content on all this is just temporary.
Yeah.
Like
And this is real stuff.
He
Like it's
knew.
not just a story. Like it's
Yeah.
actually real stuff.
Yeah. Right.
he knew his path in life
Mhm.
to pave a way for Jesus, and it's just crazy. Like I feel like that just goes in hand. Like the going 100 miles an hour. It's like you just have to. And this is really my biggest struggle, right? Like, is the going 100 miles an hour all the time, like,
Yeah.
and it's like I just need to sit still and be content. Like, I just need to be at peace, and something that I'm working on daily. But
yeah.
I definitely that John is a great example of that. Like, just
Yeah. He literally he laid his life down for the Lord. Just feel like if you think about it, like if it came down to it, I would like to think that I would be able to do it. But
yeah.
if it came down to it, like, am I really gonna do that? Like,
Oh
you
yeah.
just have to.
And that's still real. Like
Yeah,
in places
it's
like
like-
that's still like you will get killed. Like
Mhm.
if
Oh
you
yeah,
are Christian,
and
you believe in God.
Countries, we live in a great country.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we don't have to face that. But
Yeah.
yeah, there are people out there that do face that. Like they are getting killed. And if I think, like, man, if I was faced with like bow down to me and not God, or I'll kill you, like I would like to think I would not bow down. But like, you know, it's
It's a hard call.
It's a hard thing. It's not easy to do, is what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
it's not hard to submit to the Lord first. Like, when you're faced with stuff like that.
or even whenever God was denied 3 times. Like it's like, man, like it's like
Mhm.
all I have to do is I just need to say that God is real. Like
Yeah.
I believe
It's
it.
scary.
I know it for a fact, and it's
Mhm.
still like denied God 3 times. Like because he knew that he didn't want to be going through all that pain as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's scary.
yeah,
It's scary to think about it. But if you really, focus on God and what your eternal life is after this temporary life, man, that ain't nothing. Like,
Yeah.
do whatever you want.
I like what I think like one of the most powerful things I hear in the Bible is it's in Daniel. It's like towards the end of Daniel, and he tells him, which I think is like one of what you want to hear whenever you get to heaven and stuff, is God tells Daniel, like after he's lived this great life, he's like, well done, good and faithful
Yeah.
servant. You can rest now.
Mhm.
You know, like that's what you want to hear. Like that, whenever you
Yeah.
judge, and you want, you know what, well done, good and faithful servant.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
And I think
those
that's very powerful.
powerful words, like you hear from your God, like, well done. Like your whole 80, 20, 30 years of life, like, I mean, it seems like a long time. Like you get faced with a lot of stuff, and at the end, when you come to him and he says, well done, I mean, that's all that matters.
I mean, it's just, and I always look at it as like, because he is like, he's a father, you know, and so like, a lot of people can relate to like when even like your father's like, I'm proud of you, like you've done so well. Like even that's like a little taste of like what that would be like.
Yeah.
And that's there's just something about like a mom's love is like so nice, but it's so nurturing. Like you're so used to that. Like a dad's love to be like, listen, like, I'm so proud of you. Like you've done so good in life.
Yeah.
It's just a little different. And I think that even like it's like, and that's just scratching the surface of like what his love's like.
Definitely. Just imagine being on your deathbed and like you're like sitting there worried. Like, I mean, of course everyone probably has like a worry in their head. Like they're thinking about like the wrongs that they've done, the sins that they've done, and it would just imagine that peace of just being on your deathbed and being like God, thank you for giving me this opportunity to be out in this world, build the relationships that I did, like help further your kingdom. Like that's just what everyone wants. Like you just want to be able to have that opportunity and just be thankful for it.
And I think the younger you can come to realize that that's the true meaning of life. Like that's what true success is.
Yeah.
And if that's how you define success and that's how you live your life, like working towards that every single day, that's what really matters.
Yeah.
100%.
I remember, I don't know if you know who Jonathan Precluda is, but I remember him talking about like this, what do you call it? It's like I don't know, I can't think of the word, you know, like you test like a experiment, I think.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
Experiment with a room that was filled with people, and he would like ask them, how many of you are confident that or how many of you are not sure where you're going after this life? And a bunch of people raised their hand, and like he asked how many of you are sure, and like hardly any people raised their hand, and it's like, dang, that's really sad that you don't know. And then he pointed out the verse that said, if you accept the Lord, that you will be saved.
Yeah.
Like, that's all.
It's literally all it is.
You just accept. I mean, there's like, it's a whole heart posture. It's like it is a life change, but like in your mind, all you have to do is be like, yeah, I accept you, Lord, and you will be saved.
No, yeah. Honestly, it is really that easy because He works in you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not by our own doing that we change, but like when you accept Him, like it's not like we could make it to heaven if we tried. Like the only way we're making it is because He decided to die for our sins, and He thought we were worthy enough to even like have the option to come to Him. And so I think that in itself, like, why wouldn't you want to? Like, what do you lose from like believing in Him or going down that path? You don't lose anything. You say it all the time. You just have everything to gain.
Everything to earn and nothing to lose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, by believing in Him, like, is everything to. Yeah.
By not believing you have so much to lose, you literally will spend eternity in a terrible place. And it's like, I want to go down. Actually, it's like people are, people who aren't Christians are like, well, why would God send people to a place like hell? And it's like, well, He's sending people to a place where there is nothing but God. Like, there's no joy, there's no peace, there's no, I don't know, what else?
It's like He gave you the option. Like, it wasn't like He was like, oh, you're just going here.
Yeah.
Like,
and He tells you, He's like, if you don't follow me, you're gonna go here.
Right.
It's like, it's not that he wants to send you to that place. He's just sending you to a place where you're completely separate from him. There's literally nothing of him, and that's in hell.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that.
So you have everything to lose if you don't. Even, be nice like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What has been the biggest change since you got saved? Like since, you've been walking in faith and walking and having a relationship with God, what switch have you seen flip?
Oh, I've changed a lot. You can go.
Yeah. Go first.
I mean, I'd say, I've kind of always gone to church my whole life. I've always, ever since I was little, I've always believed in God.
Yeah.
There was a time where, in my life, honestly, I still believed in God, and I knew God was real, 100%. And I would still even come to church. I'd still praise God. I'd still pray to God. But, on the weekends, I would just be okay with, drinking so much, partying so much, doing, things that I shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah.
Just
She understands. She's like, yeah, you didn't do that, did you?
Yeah.
No, not mine.
So,
Switch up.
I don't know. I mean, just actually going and just knowing that hey, there's none of that stuff really matters. I only have one life, and I have my priorities. I feel like I have my priorities straight now, but at the time, I honestly, I feel like I loved that lifestyle. And now I look back at it, and I'm now I look back at it, and I don't know, I guess I kind of feel a little bit ashamed of it. I guess it is my story though, and just, I would be hungover going to church, and just makes me sad, but I'm happy where I'm at now, and
I think trials and tribulations are they just put you in a different relationship with God. Not that listen, I'd love to be the person that had 100% the whole time. Ever since I was a baby, just came out blessed, never did anything. But I'm so thankful I wasn't like that at the same time, because that's my connection to people, and especially those groups. I think that in itself, the population that's I want to drink, I want to have fun, is the highest it's ever been. Yeah. And it's so relatable. Oh, yeah. And a lot of the time, if you haven't been through that, it's you haven't even been through this. Don't try to give me a spiel. Who wants to hear that? Yeah. When you're going through something that somebody's not been through, and they're I understand. You'll get over it.
Yeah. No, you don't.
No. Yeah. Right. You don't understand. So having that opportunity to go through that, I think just makes the blessings that come out of that better. And again, he just makes good out of that situation. Yeah. So he uses that, and he's well, maybe it wasn't great, but I'm going to use it for good.
Definitely.
Yeah. And it's going to connect with people for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, for me, I feel like I've changed. Like I said, I don't even know who that girl is that I used to be. But same thing for me. I always believed in God. I didn't necessarily grow up in the church, but I did always acknowledge God, and I knew he was real. I didn't fear him. And then, I don't know, a few years ago is when I really kind of started to get serious about it. But before, like I said, there's videos of me out there, chugging beers and doing funnels, and there's also videos of me out there, yelling at people saying that they're a blank if they don't chug beer. I don't talk like that anymore. I don't even think like that anymore. I used to cuss, but probably every other word was the F word. I can't remember the last time I said the F word.
Yeah.
I obviously don't really drink anymore unless I'm, celebrating something. But even then, it's one glass of champagne, and that's it.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't know. I've just changed just so much, like, my mind is like, does this honor God? Like, I pray over my food now, which I actually didn't do before I met Lance, and then Lance introduced that to me. So I pray over my food now. I pray in the mornings. I pray throughout the day. I talk to God. Like, I don't just say, oh, I have to pray, which I actually do say that at night.
Yeah.
Mornings and nights, like, oh, I have to pray. Like,
Yeah.
I have to start off talking to God. But even throughout the day, I'll just be like, oh, God, just help me get through this. Like, thank you for letting me have a great day so far. Or, I don't know, like, Lord, I'm so thankful that I have my family. Thank you for blessing me with them. And I hope they're having a good day today. Like, you know, just, I actually have a relationship with God. Like, He's not just this thing that people talk about. Like, He's my Father. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think that hit on for me too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, both of them is kind of where I'm at. Like, there's no part he hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Just a different
100%.
person. Like, you don't recognize those people, and I think, like, it's so easy to look at, like, who you were and be disappointed, but, like, there's just something, like, and I know it sounds so crazy, but, like, there's just so much, like, joy in that because, like, you came out of that. And you're like, literally like, no, like, I'm having fun. Like, I'm happy. Like, this is actually super enjoyable where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I don't need that stuff. And I think just that puts us, especially all of us, like, in a place where we, like, step back from judgment and we're like, you know what? We understand where you're at.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And even if you haven't even, like, if you do have a somewhat perfect story where you, like, you know, never drank alcohol, or you saved yourself for marriage, like, you can still kind of meet people and be like, you know what, I don't understand that, but I can imagine it's probably really hard what you're going through, and, you know, I can point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
That will help you.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just nice knowing that there is people like that. Like, you know what?
It's
like that's awesome.
Breath of fresh
That's
air.
why I want to, I want to be like that. Like, I'm going to be like that from this point on.
That is me now.
That's good.
That's good.
But nobody has a perfect story. Like,
No.
Nobody has a pretty story.
I mean, Jesus' story isn't perfect. And it's not by his own means, but that still isn't perfect. So, no, I think it's good.
Yeah.
You want to let them, like, kind of close out with what do you guys want to, like, what would be your advice, I guess, if you could give people advice? What would be the last thing you would give advice for, or what you would want to hear, maybe when you were at that point?
Oh, when I was at that point, I mean, I used to pray for a friend like you, and then you actually came into my life. Like, so I would just say, like, you know, I wish I would have had, like, people that, I had my grandma, which was the best example, thankful for her, but I also wish I would have met more friends that, you know, could have kind of been like, hey, let's not do that. Like, let's not go out to the bar tonight and, you know, take 15 shots of tequila. Like, it's so unnecessary. Like, I just wish I had somebody that was, like, more of a guidance for me. So I would, you know, I don't know.
That's good.
It's like,
surround yourself with those kind of people.
Yeah, surround yourself. That's exactly what I was getting at. Thank you.
I got you. I got what you were putting
I already know.
Already.
Surround yourself with those kind of people. Yeah. No, but really, like, you are who you hang around. I mean, you hear it all the time. Like, if you're hanging around people who are gossiping all day, like, you're gonna gossip. I mean, I'm guilty of it at times too. Like, or if you're hanging out with people on the weekend who are just want to go out and drink, like, that's not really a scene that you want to be in, especially as a Christian. Like, you know, it's not a good look for you to be in a place where everybody's getting smashed and you're like, oh, I'm a Christian. It's like, well, what are you doing here? Like, how are you bettering the kingdom in this place? Like, are you standing up on the bar preaching? Like, or what are you doing? You know?
Yeah.
So just find the right crowd.
Definitely. I agree with that a lot. I definitely agree with that. Like, people that you're around. I mean, you take your closest 7 friends or whatever. I mean, they're gonna make you pretty much close to you at least. And I don't know. Like I said, I was always a Christian. I always believed in God. I almost took that to like, I guess, my advantage. Like I felt like.
Funny. Yeah, funny.
I almost felt like no matter what, God's gonna forgive me. Like I'm out here drinking, like I'm out here doing so much stuff that I shouldn't be doing, but like God's gonna forgive me. Which now I look back at it, I'm like, even though like I was almost taking advantage of that,
right.
And like at the end of the day, I'm gonna have to answer for every single one of those sins. Like whenever I do go and face God one day, and like I just it's not worth it. Like it really isn't. Like just stop and surround yourself with the right people. It really isn't.
Yeah.
Like it's not that much fun. It's so much more fun not doing these things.
Yeah.
Agree. 100%.
One more thing. Sorry, I would actually also say like to people like God is real, and yes, He's a very loving God, but He also is very true to His word, and He does talk about discipline. Like He said, you'll have to answer for everything that you've done in your life. And I mean, it's not going to be like just going to your mom and being like, Mom, I messed up. Like, I did this. And your mom's going to be like, well, don't do that again. You know, like you're going to have to, like, it's not like you're just talking to a parent. Like, you're talking to the creator of this universe. Like He has the power.
Yeah.
Like He has the power to, where He's gonna send you. So you're just living your life thinking, oh, but God still loves me. Like, yes, He still loves you, but He also, like, if you don't accept Him and you don't truly let Him in your heart, and live for Him, and like, just take it seriously.
Yeah.
Like, but you can always
100%.
always come to Him at any point in your life, even at the last breath. You can say, I accept you.
That's good advice. Probably
that
the
is
best
good.
advice. Yeah.
The best advice you can really be given, I think.
I know. Yeah, that's good.
Do y'all have any questions for us before we wrap it up? Anything like?
I don't really think, Travis, I heard your testimony. Like, what's your? I know we're closing up, but what's your? Just a quick
quick testimony.
Little...
I'd say I never really had like a positive religious leader in my house.
Yeah.
That's probably been the biggest thing that I was lacking from. I never had a positive religious, family growing up. We were kind of in and out of church all the time. My dad worked for normally JSO growing up, so we worked a lot of night shifts, and we would just never really go to church. We'd kind of skip it because he worked 6 to 6, and he wants to wake up at 9 a.m. and go right back to church or stay up all night. So I never really had that growing up, and I've never even really seen that or what it looked like. Really my life changed whenever she invited me to church. So I was going out probably I partied all hard in college. You know what I'm saying? I partied hard in college. I was going out 2, 3, 4 times a week, getting drunk on the weekends, getting drunk sometimes even during the week, right after work. So that's just where I was at in life. And then she, whenever we met, everything kind of instantly changed. She invited me to church, and I'm not even gonna lie, that night, I was hammered drunk.
Oh.
No. Mine, walking into church, I was still hungover, hungover as I could be pretty much. I probably still smelled like alcohol, you know what I'm saying? That's just where I was at. And everything kind of changed that day, I think. She invited me to church, and at that point I was like, man, I don't know. And then I ended up going.
No, you didn't even say I don't know. He was like, man, I'm sorry for all this. I'll do whatever you want. I'll go, I'll do, you were willing.
And right after that, we started going all the time, though. I think every weekend we never really missed a weekend. And then this is probably around November-ish. I think, is whenever all this started.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe right before. And then the first of the year rolls around, which is not like this past January, but the one before last rolls around. And we just like started talking like all about purpose.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's crazy. Like that was like my New Year's resolution. I was like, I want to find God's true purpose for me this year. And we like prayed about it and we like talked about it and stuff. And there's like 13,102 verses in the Bible, and she hand flips to my favorite verse that I used to write on my whiteboard whenever I started getting serious about everything.
Yeah.
And it's Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and then set your path straight. And I think that just like proved to me, like if I just set my values and my eyes on the Lord, he's just going to set everything straight and take away, close all the doors that need to be closed and open the one that needs to be open.
Yeah.
And we talked, this is like on a Saturday, we like talked all about purpose. And like we brought up like Tim Tebow, like saying like how his purpose was so much bigger than just like football.
Yeah.
And he had to be okay and willing to accept that and change what he was doing. So we started talking about that. And then we roll in the church on Sunday, and Pastor Mark's entire sermon is about purpose. And then he ends it with Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. And I'm just like blown away.
Yeah.
So I'm just like blown away. That's the first day I gave my life to God, and I'm just like knew like there's there's nothing I could say that like ever could describe everything.
Yeah.
There's no other thing that could line up perfectly like that. Like that is specifically God picked that out and put that in my life for a reason. And then right after that, I called like my youth pastor at like my house, who's basically like my older brother and I have a good relationship with. And I told him that and told him about like what just happened. I just gave my life to God for the first time. And he's like, dude, you're never going to believe this. And he sent me a picture of his devotional, and it's all about purpose, and it ends with Proverbs 3, 5, and 6.
That's crazy.
And it's just like wild. And since then, I've been just like walking in that path.
Yeah.
And it's just been
You've grown a lot,
life changing.
for sure. I love it.
Yeah, and I'd say like my biggest change has been like growing up. Growing up, I was such an outcast. I think I still led by example, but I was
You're
an
quiet.
outcast. I was a quiet kid. I
Yeah.
didn't say too much. I just did. I was very by the book. Did everything like that I thought was right in the situation, and like I didn't even drink until I got to college. So I did everything that I felt like I was supposed to do. And I'm like, okay, I played sports. I went to the gym. And that's it. I never went to a party as a kid. I never did anything really wrong. But I remember like in high school, I could not talk. I used to get made fun of for speaking and like getting up and like present and stuff in front of the class.
Yeah.
I would get made fun of because I'd stutter, because I'd like get hung up on my words, or like I'd sing my words in class is what some people say, because I'd so nervous I'd try to memorize them.
Yeah.
And Spanish class was the worst.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'd be like, man, I can barely speak English, and you want me to be like, me llamo Travis, me gusta. Like, I would sing everything, and I think, like, looking back on that, I'm like, God just completely, whenever I got baptized and whenever I gave my life to God, just, like, flipped that switch, and, like, a new person was born that day. He's like, Travis, I want you to start a podcast. I want you to start talking about me. I want you to show. I want you to talk, and I want you to show everybody how you completely, like, 180'd your life.
Yeah.
And now, like, we've been going to men's prayer, and, like, I think your spiritual muscle is just like every other muscle in your body. Like, you lift weights to build your muscles. It's just like that. Your spiritual muscle, you have to work out that exact same way. And every single week we go to men's prayer, like, God is, like, speaking to me, and I can really give, like, prophetic words over people. And, like, I made grown men cry giving them words that God, spoke into me. It came out of nowhere. And I think that's, like, one of the coolest things I think I've ever seen. And I've just, like lately even more, like, God's been speaking to me to like this random stranger that comes into Nelson's buildings wanting a shed. It's like, you should go pray for that person, and even whenever I don't, like, there's this one, like, this past week, I just, like, I felt so weird, like, awkward, like, walking out with her, and like, she, like, just lost her husband and has 3 kids, and I just, like, we were talking about God, like, the entire time. So it's like, it was very present, and I just felt the need to go pray for her, and I didn't. And I was like, at the end, because it's just like kind of awkward to like walk out the door with her. Yeah. And it like broke my heart. Like it hit me so hard. It was like, I let him down, but I'll do better the next time. I promise I won't let that happen again. Yeah.
Yeah. Now pray for her.
Yeah.
Pray for it.
Yeah, 100%.
That's good stuff.
I know.
Yeah, I'll pray us out.
Gabby.
Gabby.
She's like, is anybody going to ask me a question?
that's why I get what
That's the only reason I came here.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
It doesn't speak anymore. Technically, can you crop this out?
All right.
You can crop this out, right?
Drop that editing out. It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
All right. I'll pray us out real quick.
All right.
Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for just bringing us all together and getting us here, God. And God, thank you for your word today. Thank you for the words that we spoke, God. I pray you just use it to just speak into somebody and just speak life into somebody, God. I pray that you just open their eyes, God, and you just give them a clear vision and a clear picture of what their life looks like whenever they walk with you, God. And I just pray that, God, that they just slow down in life, God, and take everything at your pace and not by their pace, God. And you just start putting people in their lives, God, that they need to be around, and people that they want to be around and need to be around, that just completely just fills the room. God, I pray that you just change people into just a thermostat who can just change a room as soon as they walk into it, God. And if there's anybody listening to this podcast who doesn't know you, God, and I just want you to repeat after me. God, less of me and more of you. Thank you for sending Jesus to die on the cross for me. God, will you just take away my sins and my trauma and my past, God, and I repent of all my sins that I've committed in my past, God, and will you just use it for good and fill me with peace, God, and fill me with purpose, and in Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Good job.
That was good.
That was good.
That was a good talk, guys.